Do you have any other type of headset other than those? Like, can we...
Oh, Bobby. Bobby. Come on, I thought this was the Nintendo PlayStation.
That's long gone, man. That is long gone. Oh, you bastard. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode 105 of Nintendo Talk. I am Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, joined by the greatest co-op player in all the land, Mr. Todd Oxtra. How you doing, man?
Bobby, they said it would never happen.
It's happened.
Trash talk, but it was secretly love. We knew it.
This is not the first time we've podcast together.
No.
And even on this show, because you did Nintendo Talk Live before, right?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was about a year ago. Yeah,
yeah,
like a year ago or so. Maybe longer than that. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll get you back on that one too. But Toby had an issue today where he had his landlord coming over to like do repairs, and I was like, Toby, of all days, like today, like what are you doing, man?
On a Sunday?
I think he just wanted an excuse. He didn't want to record, and he just needed a valid excuse that I can't call him on and yell at him out. So it's fine, though. It's all good. So instead, we brought Todd Oxtra here from Secret Friends Unite / co-op mode. And it's you basically have two hats you're wearing over there. You're the host on two shows, correct?
Correct.
And so tell everybody a little bit about yourself real quickly before we dive in here.
Sure. I've been podcasting for quite a while now, 5 years on Secret Friends Unite. That came out of a Facebook that we started with myself and my college roommate, Charlie Carden. Mm-hmm. Just a way to reconnect because he lives in Michigan. I live in Minnesota. And the podcast came out of that as well because I'd been on a video game podcast before for a while. That ended, and I'm like, I want to get back to podcasting and talk about nerdy things, but more along lines of superheroes, TV, movies, and things like that, because my co-host is not a video gamer. So it's been 5 years, and I remember, Bobby, I think we had you on very early on that.
Very early on that one, but I've been on numerous times since.
Yes.
You always bring me in for the DC stuff. Yes. So if you're listening now, go subscribe to Secret Friends Unite. I'm going to be on next week for the Joker movie. Basically it'll be a spoiler cast. We'll turn around. Me, you, and Charlie will go watch the movie next weekend, and then Sunday we'll record, and then it's just amazingness because Charlie, he tries to keep his Marvel craziness inside because he knows that I will come at him, and he just, unlike most guests will bow down, but he keeps it really. He tries to keep it even keel. And you're like the peacemaker. You just sit back and, you're very neutral.
I have to have you on, Bobby. I need somebody to have my back. It's been a rough road for DC, so it's nice to have that because I really DC's my first love, along with Marvel. I love everything. As you know, I would never hate on any particular thing, because I never have.
Never
never have.
You never have.
Positive Todd.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Me and Todd. So for those that don't know, when Todd and I, we both used to listen to, I don't know if you listen anymore, I don't listen as much, NVC, Nintendo Voice Chat, the podcast. It's just not what it used to be. I don't know. I listen when I can, but I used to be like a go-to, and that was it, and it's just so far off. Like, if Pear's on, I'll definitely listen, but it's just not what it used to be. But that being said, regardless, they have a Facebook group. And the group was really small. Like, man, it was real tight-knit. And you were a part of it. I was a part of it. Like, there's a crew that was, like, originally a part. Like, Mark was. Toby was. And we met a lot of podcasters and stuff all throughout it all. But when Todd and I first met, neither of us were podcasting. But man, we were fighting every single day.
Oh, Bobby. And you were so wrong so many times.
You were so full of crap. So I was the diehard Nintendo fan. I loved Nintendo, and I was defending them to the bitter end. And you would just come in with these troll questions to try to fire up the room. Actually, you weren't doing troll questions. You were doing legitimate questions, but it was like the way you were positioning yourself was that you didn't like Nintendo. And I was like so quick to call you out on it all the time and be like attacking. And then one day, I think it was, I think I got very like mean with with the words I was saying, and I think if I'm not mistaken, even Frank Clark had been like, "Dude, bro, that was kind of rough," and I was like, "Oh, he deserves it." He's like, "Well, no, he does, but still, it's still kind of rough, even for me to say that." And I was like, "Damn it, Frank's saying that. It must have been pretty bad." So I like messaged you privately, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm sorry." You're like, "Nah, don't worry about it," and we became friends. That like we've never had harsh words against each other since, and it's been a blast ever since. So we've always done stuff. So that's the backstory to how I know Todd and all that stuff. If you guys hear, if you listen, if we ran Nintendo, we bring up Todd's name quite often. Sean, because Todd doesn't like when you ramble. Like what we're doing right now is driving Todd crazy. He hates it. He wants to get into the meat and potatoes.
Time for topics.
Yeah, he wants to talk topics, and I like to just keep going and going and going and get him all fired up. So Sean will try to get it back, and I'm just like, nah, I don't care what Todd thinks. Todd can wait. It ain't no big deal. But he doesn't care because he gets to hear his name heard a million times. So he's all happy with that.
I'm your biggest troll, Bobby. That's what I love about it, our relationship. I love to troll you guys and bring you back down to earth because, you guys have gone up to some high heights, and, I got to keep you back to your original days.
Trust me.
Remind you who you are.
Oh, trust me. We've gone high heights, and we're back down in the basement, so we're all good.
You got me on.
We've gone full circle, so we're good. Todd, let's kick this episode off like we do each and every episode with our Geek Outs. What are you geeking out about there, Todd?
Oh, so you want a shout out, right?
You know what? I'm getting so sick of you guys. All you guys do this thing.
Mr. Bobby,
yes, sir.
I have a prop for you.
Ah.
If we can see it. Let's see if I can get the screen on. Look at this puppy. Can I get it in? Oh my goodness, it's almost too big.
Yeah,
almost too big.
That is pretty impressive. How are you liking that? So for those that don't know, it's the Hori. What exactly are they calling that? The
SwitchPad Pro.
SwitchPad Pro, and it's basically the two gigantic grips that attach to the side of a Switch that gives you a D-pad, and it's like bigger Joy-Cons and all that. It's craziness, man. So how are you liking it?
I love it.
Really?
I've never been a fan of the Joy-Cons because just my fingers are cramped. I'm not a big handheld gamer because I've never loved the control schemes. I've never loved the small screen, but I thought the Switch is going to get me there. Yeah. But the Joy-Cons, just because they're in line together, the actual analog stick plus the buttons are in line, so it doesn't feel very comfortable. And they're so small that it just doesn't feel like I would rather be playing with a Pro Controller. Yeah. But that's not been possible because there's no like a mount or anything that's really good for the Switch to use the Pro Controller with. So when this is what I wanted. The Procon is basically, you've talked about it as well.
Yeah, I have.
And unfortunately, Nintendo's not making one yet. So this is the closest we've got. It's definitely a compromise.
Well, Todd, that's not necessarily true. I have mine, too, here. And so I have mine as well, the Switch Lite I'm holding up right now.
I don't know you can fit that in your hands, Bobby.
3 of them, man. 3 of them. Geez. It's amazing. I can only play one at a time, but I have 3.
I thought you got one in each hand.
I put one in my mouth and one in each hand and play at the same time.
Go. Yeah, you got like one of those mounts. Have you seen that where it's like the thing that goes over your head?
Oh yeah, did you see that?
Like what is that? The Switch trough.
So horrible, so horrible. But how's the D-pad on that thing?
D-pad's fantastic. Okay. It's really good. I would say it's better than the Pro Controller D-pad, which is not the greatest to begin with. So. It's great. It's better than the Hori D-pad that was on their standalone Joy-Con.
Yeah.
But the sticks, the triggers, everything are phenomenal. It's great. I have not played my Switch a lot lately, and quite honestly, rarely ever play in portable mode. I was playing in Link's Awakening for about 3 hours until my Switch died with it.
Wow.
I loved it. It was fantastic.
That's impressive. And I say that, and I'm not being facetious. I say that because I know that you don't play your Switch a lot. You know, the true Nintendo fan of your family is your son, Logan.
Yes.
And I always call you out on that. And like, just when you start ragging on Nintendo, I'm like, Todd, go talk to Logan for a little bit. Like, stop your nonsense.
But he loves them too. He loves the new controllers, and really a fan of it. He likes the fact that you can assign buttons to the back panel, which is kind of nice. If you can look at the back, you can assign.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Basically, it's like little
triggers.
bumpers on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's nice, and also has turbo, which my son's like, oh, fantastic, I can spam it in Smash. I'm like, turbo used to be a thing on all of those old knockoff controllers, Bob. You remember those old ones.
I used to use the Max, the NES Max, and that was kind of like a Pro Controller before there was a Pro Controller, right? It had the grips. The D-pad wasn't a D-pad; it was a circle pad that you kind of like floated around on, and the AB and all that stuff were actual turbo buttons. Like you could have them doing, like you would press B and A, right? And then above them was another B and A that were turbo. So I love that controller. I use that controller all the time. I used to love to play ice hockey with it because it actually felt like I was skating on ice with it. I love that controller. So that was what I used. I didn't use any knockoffs. What was the other one? The NES Advantage. And that was the big joystick with the... I hated that thing. That thing was horrible. That thing just looked ugly, man. Myself, I am geeking out about Link's Awakening. I played it on the Game Boy, and I only got so far. And this will kind of lead into our first topic, or whatever. But I only got so far with it, right? And I actually beat it yesterday. I rolled credits on it.
Wow.
And man, dude, this game is fantastic. And it definitely automatically now moves way up my list of Zelda games. Doesn't eclipse number 1, but it probably moves to number 3. Easily. Like, it was never even on the list. I used to be the guy that would be like, that is not a true Zelda game. It's garbage. It's horrible. The quality of life improvements that they put on this game, where you can actually have multiple buttons doing different things, where you actually have a sword button. You didn't have that in the Game Boy. You had a sword button, but it took up a weapon slot. And you would have times where you would have to, like, get an arrow and a bomb and connect them together and shoot. And it was like, I was talking to Sean earlier today, and I was like, man, if they would have had Link's Awakening on the Super Nintendo, I probably would have loved it. But they didn't. And because of the 2 buttons on it, I just lost so much interest in it. But playing this game and beating it last night, it is such a heartfelt game. Really tugs at the heartstrings. Felt myself getting a little emotional when I was watching and realizing, like, oh wow, this is happening. Like, this is a thing, and this is all coming to fruition. And this is it is so brutal, but so beautiful and so awesome at the same time. And it's like, and I even said to Sean today, I was like, the final boss battle is so amazing. Like, it's so deep. And it was like, I love this thing. This is fantastic. It's such a great game. So that's my geek out, because it took something that I didn't think I really cared about. You know, when they announced it, I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like, you know, I know so many people love this game. And then I started thinking, I was like, well, you know, you never beat it, so let's give it a shot. And it took me about 10 to 12 hours to beat it. It's a tough game. It really is still tough. Like, the puzzles are hard. Trying to find everything is hard. I think it's a true sequel to Link to the Past. Like, it's now, to me, you can actually tie those 2 games together and go, these are 2 of the greatest games ever, easily, and just tie them together. So, I mean, for me, Link to the Past is number 1, Breath of the Wild is number 2, and now this is number 3. This moves right in there. So,
wow,
yeah, I loved it.
Very cool.
I loved it. So, but that's going to move us into our first topic, and so with Link's Awakening happening. And looking to be very successful. It looks like it's going to come out and really probably do 1 million copies easily, pretty quickly out the gates. Go on to probably do a few million, no problem with that. But my question is do you feel like there's other Nintendo games that were stuck on the Game Boy that probably should get this type of treatment? Get a remaster, get fixed, and brought forward to the Switch. So is there anything that pops into mind, or... You said you had a story, so let's hear this story.
I do have a story.
Okay.
So I never owned a Game Boy.
Oh
the
my
first
God!
portable Nintendo system I owned was the GBA.
Well,
and I
that
owned it
counts as
an adult.
Game Boy, but that counts as a Game Boy. That still
Okay.
counts as a Game Boy. It is called the Game Boy Advance, not the GBA. So relax.
Because I had to
over
wait
it.
till it was advanced, Bobby.
Well, to be fair, the first Game Boy wasn't that good. I think I bought it. I remember my dad telling me, like, why did you buy this piece of garbage? This thing is crap. But for me, and growing up as a kid back in that era, you only had the Tiger LCD, like these little dots and stuff were your mobile games.
Or the Game & Watch, which I actually owned one.
Yeah, but even that, like, they're not good games. You know what I mean?
No, horrible.
Yeah, so when this came along, the idea that I could not only play true Nintendo games portably, but also swap them out, that was like a home run. And I bought mine myself. But so you had the Game Boy Advance. I also had that. Well, I love that
but
one.
I did go back. So when my neighbor across the street was a little kid, I would babysit him. He had an NES, and he also had a Game Boy. So that's how I got to play Game Boy.
Okay.
And it was interesting because he had quite a few games, so I was kind of limited to what he had. But Tetris obviously was one of the big ones. Mm-hmm. One of the Super Mario Lands, I can't remember which one it was. And then he also had the Kid Icarus game, which was
good.
Essentially a sequel to Kid Icarus on the NES, and it was one of the hardest games I ever played. Holy cow. Yeah. I don't think I ever made it past the first level.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating. But when I played the sequel, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really fun. And that's why I would pick that game, because that's one of those franchises that has just never been either revered by Nintendo or just never felt like it should be embraced and really brought about and given new life, except for the 3DS game, which my son loved. I wanted to love it, but the control scheme was horrible, and it was trapped on the wrong system.
That I agree with everything you just said. I loved the NES one. Loved it. Not so much the 3DS one that came out. I felt like that was, like you said, it felt like it was Space Harrier, essentially. And I just wasn't into it. But the original one I loved. And then I did buy the one on the Game Boy, and same thing. It was hard. I didn't like it because you really weren't playing the game. There wasn't much in that little box that you were playing on. To be honest with you, I think that's a great choice. I would love to play that game remastered. And I would even go as far as to go, because here's the thing, right? So we heard a lot of griping from people going like, this isn't a $60 game. Okay, whatever. But it would be nice to see Nintendo remaster the first two. Kid Icarus 1 plus this Kid Icarus 2. And put them and package them together to give you more of a value. I'd buy that in a heartbeat. Because those games are just fantastic. Now, I know that everybody looks at the Mario Land games. And I would love for Miyamoto to finally let Nintendo remaster some Mario games. This would be where I would start. You know what I mean? I would test it with here. And because if I was Miyamoto, I would go, well, you know what? Those games, let's just redo them. Let's make, especially Mario 1. Super Mario Land, the original one, is just so... The music is good. I love the music. But that's about it. It's weird. It's like a silhouette of Mario. It's not really Mario. The jumping is odd. You have these like balls you can shoot out. They like bounce all over the place and all that. And it's like, what the heck were they thinking when they made this game? So I wouldn't mind having that one remastered. But I would also say, again, to do like a bundle package, because Super Mario Land 2 is a fantastic game. And that one I felt was way better than 1. It wasn't a great game because it was a little slow on the slow side, but like the power-ups were fantastic. Mario looked great in it. Like it actually looked like a Mario cartoon. So I loved when they did that stuff. So I would love to see them kind of lean into the Mario series and redo them.
What about they had the NES remix series on Wii U, and I think 3DS had a version as well, right? What if they decided to go after that type of tactic on the Game Boy games?
See, I mean, I guess you can, but the problem is you'd have to remaster them all. You can't do that NES thing with those games. And to be honest with you, like they did the NES remix, and they did two. You know, they did NES remix 2, and that was way better than the first one. First one was garbage. I'm really shocked they never did a Super Nintendo one. Like that would have been the answer to me. I liked what they did. I actually liked the one on the 3DS better because that was remix, and they took the best of one and the best of two and put them together. And I was like, this is what the first one should have been, you know. So my problem is like they didn't really touch those games other than utilizing the glitches to make it happen or changing some stuff up a little bit, but they kept it really kind of true to form, meaning like Samus looked like Samus, Mario looked like Mario. It wasn't like an updated rehaul of them. Game Boy, like, dude, them graphics were so bad.
It's tough.
Then. Yeah, it's tough to go back and do something like that. So, I don't know. I don't know that I would do that per se. I would probably, a game that I would do that they actually already remastered on the 3DS, I would port Samus Returns to the Switch. You know, that one, they remastered it essentially for the, they took Super Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, and they remastered it to some degree and made it Samus Returns for the 3DS. I would take that and just up-res it a little bit and just drop it on the Switch. Like, I think that game didn't do well because it just came at the very end, and people were moved on. You know, I mean, I played it. It was a great game. I didn't beat it. I got pretty far, but I was just like, I just don't want to play on this little screen, man. I just don't want to play on this little screen. And I say that as I have my Switch Lite, but still, you know.
That was the last 3DS game I tried to give it my best, and just I fell off on it. I don't know if I felt like there were just better Metroidvania games on the Switch at that point. But yeah, it just didn't hit the points I wanted to, but it was definitely a good game. But yeah, it was on the wrong system.
Yeah, definitely on the wrong system. I mean, dude, there's better Metroid games than that one, ultimately. I don't know if you ever played Zero Mission. Zero Mission.
I did. That kicked my ass.
So good. So good. I beat it, but it's so good. Because it's actually like a remake of one, but a better than a remake. Like, it's better. They basically had parts of one built in, and it was like once you beat Mother Brain, it kind of went into this whole extra story kind of, where you get to you find out the beginnings of Zero Suit Samus and all this, and it was like, because up to that point you never had Zero Suit Samus. Like, Zero Suit Samus was more like what happened when you beat Metroid as a kid.
Pretty much.
You know what I mean? Like,
girl.
It's a girl. Like, oh wow, look, she's in a bikini. Like, what's the heck's going on? So that's where the whole Zero Suit kind of came from originally, which is Zero Suit, no suit. Like, she's getting the clothes off.
It's like before the Tomb Raider nude code.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but they did that with that game, and that game is so good. You know, like that's a Game Boy Advance game that's just really. I would love to see them remaster those games. Like, take those games and put some shine on them and just go. I like what Nintendo is accomplishing here when they're, right now. Our biggest gripe back in the Wii U was not enough games to play. If you were like me, if you were in the
Whoever
Nintendo...
said that, Bob? Whoever said that.
You always said it. My complaint, not my complaint, but my argument back then was me being in the Nintendo ecosystem, meaning I had a 3DS, I had a Wii U. I was getting games typically on the month, but I was bouncing back and forth from console to console. And you had to be willing to do that. You had to be willing to go to the 3DS to get a game and then go back to the Wii U. I like what Nintendo's doing now, where they've basically eaten up the handheld team, brought them on board, and we look like we're in a position now where we're starting to get games on the regular and sequels, not necessarily sequels, but same games within the franchise, quicker turnaround. Like we've already had 3 Mario games. You had Mario Maker, New Super Mario Bros. Wii U, or New Super Mario Bros. U, and then you had Odyssey. And then I'm sure within the next year or so we'll get another Mario game. So and now we've already had 2 Zelda games on here. We have a 3rd announced that's coming. I love this. Like, I really love what we're getting at this point because it just feels like the games are flowing in,
Yeah, I mean, that was always the problem. Nintendo had to be the most active of the platform holders to produce games for their systems because they didn't have the third-party support, and they didn't have to support, and those other, beyond PlayStation with their Vita phase and everything like that, they typically only had to support one system, so they could put all their efforts behind it, and that's why you had those gaps and things like that. But this is the first generation that they've been able to, like you said, compile all those resources, be very active. Now the release schedule is kind of sucky still, which I wish they would start peppering those throughout the months at the beginning of the year, because you never wonder if it's like, wow, this is the beginning of the year that seems horrible, and then they just overwhelm you with releases. So pocketbook time and effort, and it's like, and it's difficult. Plus, they've got all these third parties and indies, and it's like it's fantastic. So I think the Switch is a phenomenal system. That and it's not every game's for me. That's fine. I get that. But there's always games available that I might be interested, which wasn't always the choice that you had in the past. Because if you didn't like the game that's coming out, you may not get another game for the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah, just curious, because you're a very fickle gamer when it comes to Nintendo. You lean heavily towards Sony, PlayStation. What, other than Link's Awakening, what's the last Nintendo game that you played?
Nintendo or game on the Switch?
Game on the Switch. Game on the Switch.
Wow. So I tried Bloodstained. It didn't perform well. Yeah. So I ended up leaving that one behind, and that's I think that everyone knows that that's kind of a problem. Yeah. But the one before that, wow, probably SteamWorld Dig 2.
Really?
That I really got it. Well, no, let me take that back. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 was the last one. And quite honestly, I did not enjoy that game as a single-player game portably, but when I started playing that with my son, it was fantastic. It's an awesome co-op game.
Yeah. Now, you didn't mess with Astral Chain at all?
Not yet. It's going to be on my list, because that was a game I was really looking forward to. I
think you would like
Platinum.
It. Yeah.
I did not like Bayonetta 2 when I played it on the Wii U for some reason. I gave it another chance on the Switch, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This feels like an easier Bayonetta.
Okay.
Real quirky combat and all that stuff, but like the great story, fantastic art style and graphics. Soundtrack is really good. I liked it. I liked it a lot. So I think that would be one to be up your alley. You know what I mean? If you could find time between Kojima and Last of Us 2,
It's not even on my radar this year, unfortunately.
Kojima?
But no. I'm just Death Stranding. I am hot and cold with him.
That game does nothing for me. I'm so confused every time I look at it. I don't want anything to do with it right now. Last of Us 2, that's on my radar. That's a definite buy. I don't care. I'm buying that day one, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving right along, the next topic is, with Google introducing Stadia and Apple bringing Apple Arcade, do you feel like Nintendo should be a little bit worried about their future?
I think Microsoft and Sony should be more worried than Nintendo should, because Nintendo has something that really gets them in a place that the other console holders don't, and that is typically a device and a game portfolio that appeals to all ages. And as a parent with kids, with Logan, he's 14. He's almost 14 now, so it's a totally different. But when he was young, I was hesitant to give him a expensive piece of hardware, regardless of an iPad. Even let him using my PC was always I was nervous about it, because what could you do to screw it up? But I was perfectly fine giving him a Game Boy or a 3DS or a 2DS or whatever, and that was typically lower cost, and the games would last a long time. So he wasn't constantly coming back and asking for more. Versus mobile games and that type of market. Although a subscription service like an Apple Arcade it's so cheap. It's almost like a no-brainer. But once again, the barrier entry is an iPhone, an iPad, or Apple TV.
Yeah.
Google Stadia, I guess you can go there with an Android device or a Chromecast.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Nintendo, I mean, they could go their own route with this. I mean, definitely in the future, they could go down their own route and have like a virtual arcade app that you play with a Nintendo branded controller, and that's how you get in the door. But I don't think so. I just think we're in a weird state right now that I think the game that both those services are playing are a little bit different. Like, you're locked into that system if you own an Apple device, or you are high end, want to play PC games, but you just don't have the device to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And maybe in 10 years, if this is the future, which I think is where it's going, but I'm guessing Nintendo's putting they're dipping their toe in the water and thinking about where do they want to go, and they may partner with Xbox to do that.
It's possible, because Sony just did, you know what I mean, with the xCloud. And I mean, I know, see, I feel like Nintendo basically future-proofed themselves for a very long time with Switch. Meaning, it's going to be a while before they have to upgrade. You know, I don't feel like they're going to have to really go crazy and upgrade anytime soon. I feel like, and what I mean by upgrade, I mean like just completely reinvent the system and start from scratch. I feel like they're in a position with the Switch that they could do system updates, hardware updates for, 15, 20 years before they really have to start worrying about what the other guys are doing. Because in theory, if they did do this mobile gaming, like this streaming gaming, like the Switch is almost perfect for it as well. You know, so it's like they've kind of put themselves in, unlike the Wii U, they've kind of put themselves in a great position. And the thing of it is like they win the best of both worlds. Like, if it is a situation where it goes, hey, it's streaming, well, okay, portable, I got my Switch, we're good to go there. And then at home, I have my Switch, it's docked, I win there. So I feel like they've really gotten themselves in a really good position. And I don't feel like what Apple is doing bothers them at all. I really don't think they take Apple serious. Because, let's be honest, there is no replacing a home gaming experience. Mobile games they're great. You know what I mean? They're good for passing time. But there is no such thing as a big media adventure that anybody wants to play on their phone. No. They're quick, easy to digest games, and you're in, you're out, and that's it. But, you know, I would not want to play Breath of the Wild on my phone. It just wouldn't happen. And that's why, like, it's crazy because Oceanhorn, me and Toby talked about it last week, Oceanhorn 2 is on Apple Arcade. It was one of the launch titles. And it's like, I just don't want to play that game there. Like, that's not where I want to play that game. Like, why? Why would you put that there? I understand Apple must have threw money at them, and that's why they did it. But for me, I'm just like, that's not where I want to be. I wouldn't do it.
No, and you know, when you've got your phone or your iPad, I'm not thinking of games. I'm just thinking there's so many other things I'm going to do on my phone. I'm going to tweet. I'm going to go on Facebook. I'm going to check my email, check my calendar. If I'm on my iPad, maybe watch a movie or things like that. Whereas, and that's something that maybe playing a game where I just don't feel the value of an experience like that. It just, to me, it's like something like you said. It's in and out. It's playing a match 3 game or something just really dumb when I can't sleep or something like that. And quite honestly, Nintendo, they kind of have a gaming subscription service right now with the Nintendo Online service. They have old games, the NES catalog, and I don't know, what is it up to now? 40, 50 games with the SNES and NES?
I think it's closer to, I want to say it's closer to 60 now.
Sure.
Because they started with 20 NES games, they just dropped 20 Super Nintendo games, and then they did 2 games a month for a year, so they're pushing 50, 60.
Yeah, and quite honestly, they can continue that with other. I don't know how deep they want to go down that road, but there's nothing to stop them. And I think you've even talked about this, Bobby, is just saying we're gonna have a tiered service. It's like adding in something extra if you want something extra.
Yeah.
So maybe they go the extra $10 on top of it, and then says this gives you N64 games, and whatever. And they've done a lot of the heavy lifting on those games already because they've been on a virtual console. Now, past that, though, it's a little harder, right? Wii and GameCube, I don't know how they do it, but they definitely could.
Well,
I don't know if people want to play those games, though, because they kind of look
bad. They look bad.
Yeah.
But here's the thing for me. I think what they need to do with this Nintendo Online is just say, man, we're not going to put multiplayer online on every single game. Like, get away from that. Like, it was a great novel idea. Who uses it? I don't. I've never. I mean, that's not true. I can't say never. When it first launched, I was using it. Playing Tecmo Bowl with a bunch of my friends online, streaming it. That was a thing. I did that. But the lag was really bad. So I didn't like it. And a game like that can't be laggy. So, for me, I just don't care about that. The pass the controller feature, awesome. Really cool. Don't care about it. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, this is not your grandfather's video gaming. Well, our video gaming. Like, couch co-op was what we did when we were kids. Because we had no choice. There was no such thing as the internet. But this is not, like, I don't need to pass the controller with friends I can't talk to, unless I'm on Discord. It's so obtuse and so weird. I just would like to see them just shut it down in terms of, like, just going, hey, man, we know you want to play Wii U games, or Wii games, or GameCube, or GameCube games, or even Game Boy games. We're just going to open up the library. And then occasionally we're going to drop one in, and we're going to call those ones SP. Like, make those SP games. And go, here's, Ocarina of Time, SP, you can pass a controller on it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you do, in my opinion. Yeah. You don't have to make every single game online. I don't think people are going to eat well, it is the internet, so who knows. But I would think that majority of people would be okay with that. Just to be able to go like, hey man, I'm giving you my $10, $20, whatever you want to take per year, even if you upped it to $40 or $50 a year. And then, like, you just started dropping in a steady flow of, here are all your NES, Super Nintendo, N64 games. Like, just drop a whole array of games in there. And go, this is your virtual console.
Yeah, I think most people forgot the online feature of those old games, quite honestly. So I don't think people would be as sad. Yeah, you had the vocal minorities. Oh, they don't do this anymore. But I think a lot of people are just happy to have those games available again because they've been gone for a while. And this could ultimately be their ultimate retro catalog.
Yeah.
And if they can entice more third parties to bring in some of those games that maybe just you can't get anywhere else anymore because all those systems are pretty much dead now.
Yeah.
That existed, and the retro gaming market exists, and not have to pay $80 for a copy of, I don't know, DuckTales 2. It'd be fun to have it back.
Yeah.
And just have access.
I agree. And I think the hard thing right now with the virtual console is the third parties they woke up. They woke up to this thing that Nintendo does, and they're just like, you know what, we're just going to put collections out ourselves. Capcom just woke up and was just like, we're just going to drop them. Castlevania did the same thing. Was just like, we're going to put Konami. We're going to just put them all on the thing. I love it, though. I would buy collections like this all day long. Like, just keep feeding me these collections. I'll keep buying them, and I'll have them set aside, and it's a way for me. I would rather have that than buy them digitally. I'd rather have the physical copy because it reminds me of when I had the physical copy when I was a kid, except for here's a collection. I only have to buy one cartridge and have them all there. I hate what Konami does with the digital stuff. Like, it annoys me. Like, I'm spending the money on a cartridge, put all the games on the cartridge. Don't give me half I have to download. That's so stupid.
And they should look like the old, remember the old, what was it, GBA, they had the classics selection?
Yeah.
You could have the Switch carts look like that. It would look really cool. It could look like old NES carts.
That would be pretty awesome. Okay, last topic we have. So this week we heard about the developers behind Dragon Quest XI saying that they have now fulfilled their promise to Satoru Iwata by bringing Dragon Quest XI to the Switch. What are your thoughts? Any comments about that comment that got made?
It's kind of neat because Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, whatever you're going to call it, has a special place.
Yeah.
Because I actually played Dragon Warrior. I'm not a big RPG, like JRPG guy, but I played the original Dragon Warrior because my neighbor, the one I babysat, got it for free with his Nintendo Power subscription.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. And I played that game. I was loving it, Bobby, until I wore the cursed belt. Never wear a cursed belt. I died. All my progress was gone. I forgot to save. I don't even know if there was a save code. I don't know. No, I really don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so this is a series that is at the beginnings of Nintendo, and they have a very close relationship. There was some PlayStation ties at a time, but it's primarily been a Nintendo system or game, and it's been on the other portables and things like that. Yeah. And this is phenomenal, and obviously they have formed a relationship, and I think Iwata knew that the Switch needed to have broad support, especially where Dragon Quest, they used to have, didn't they used to thing where they scheduled the game to be on weekends so the kids wouldn't miss school?
Yeah, because what would happen is they would they'd launch the game in the middle of the week and nobody would go to school. They would all go, and literally lines were around the block long waiting to buy Dragon Quest games when they launched. It was crazy. It was like an event.
Yeah.
For me, so if we rewind a little bit, right? And this got announced when the Switch, before the Switch even was a thing. This was the NX, and I remember Square Enix coming out and saying like, "Hey, we're going to develop this game, Dragon Quest XI, on the PlayStation 4, on the 3DS, and the NX." And people were like, "Whoa, my God, like this is amazing." It was the first game that officially got announced. Didn't know anything about it, didn't know when it was going to happen. And then we weren't sure what game were we going to get, because the 3DS version was like a top-down 16-bit old-school Dragon Quest game. The PlayStation game was a 3D world game. We got the best of both worlds. We can pick and choose. We can change at any time between the two art styles. But when they announced it, to me, looking back, right, hindsight is obviously 2020 in this situation. We don't know at that time when it gets announced that Iwata's dying. You know what I mean? We don't know any of that's happening. And, you know, every time that I hear his name get brought up with something that's tied to the Switch, man, it makes me realize how much he loved us. He knew that they failed with the Wii U, and he was doing everything in his power to fix that. You know, as far as like just like when you hear stories about the Zelda development team going in to see him on his deathbed and kicking ideas around, and he was just like working while he's like, the guy is literally dying on a bed and he's working still, and they're coming in and they're talking to him, and they're just like, he's just like, I remember a quote him saying like, "Man, just flip it over. Whatever ideas you have, bring them all. We're gonna do everything with this new Zelda game." And then I can just like, it's just amazing to think that here's this guy who is sick, he's in bad shape, and he's going to meetings and trying to get people, like, essentially begging companies to bring their games to this new console. Because he knows if you get Dragon Quest on the Switch, it's a home run day one. That game is going to sell on the Switch better than anywhere else, because you're encompassing two things. You're getting people the ability to play on the TV, and then you're giving the Japanese market the ability to play on the go. And then they even did a special edition console in Japan for this thing. Like, they really went all out on this thing. It's just, it's gut-wrenching to hear stories like this, but it also just is so amazing to know that this guy just really, like I said, really loved us, really cared, and looked out for gamers to go, this is something special that I know Nintendo fans need to have and play, and I'm going to make sure it gets there. And then they hear them just come out and say, like, hey, we fulfilled the promise. We made him a promise. We fulfilled it. It's like, oh, God. It makes me want to go buy 2 copies. Just to be like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you don't hear that much in gaming anymore. You know what I mean? It's more, like, we get this, right? And then on the other side, you get to hear where Nicholas is doing handshake deals with people and not fulfilling their side of the deal. And it's like, and then you hear this, and it's like, it actually, and these are the big companies. You expect the indies to make it happen like this. But when you have the big guys that are coming in, and they're just making promises to each other, and then they fulfill it, man, it's just special times, man. Special times.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. And you very rarely hear about relationships in video games between companies, because a lot of times it's very business focused, and especially where they were coming from at the time. And Iwata, obviously wanted to leave Nintendo in a better place where he was headed, and he definitely did. His legacy is all over Nintendo and in the future, and the things he decided to allow. It's phenomenal, and that is paving the way where they are today. And I know sometimes you say, Bobby, oh, there's just too much. I wish it was the old days. And you know what Nintendo's saying is, we don't want to go back there. We want to invite all gamers, have all franchises, and have them all available. And with Dragon Quest being such a big thing, and it really, a lot of gamers on Nintendo platforms have missed out. Yeah. This has been a big thing. So this is awesome. And to hear about these guys basically saying our promise is fulfilled, you just don't hear about that from any other company. And that is phenomenal.
Yeah. Now, for me, I held out. I wanted to play this game very badly. And I didn't buy it on the 3DS. I didn't buy it on the PS4. I was like, I'm just going to wait for the Switch version. And man, I'm so glad I did. It is. Have you tried it at all, or no? Is this not your game?
No, it's not my style. But I have played Hero and Smash Brothers.
Okay. So I think the other coolest thing that they really did with this was the demo. They put a 10-hour demo out, and they're like, hey, you buy this game, and where the demo ends, this picks up. So all your progress you make in the demo carries along. It is such a good game. Like, this game is really just a home run, and they did such a good job with this. I am ecstatic for it. Like, I rushed through Zelda this weekend because I was like, I need to play Dragon Quest. Like, I've already started a demo. I'm almost done the demo, and I'm like, all right, it's time to buy this game. Buy the game, get it set up, and then start going. So, such a beautiful thing, man. So good. Todd, you talked about you're playing Link's Awakening, right? Nothing else you're really playing on Nintendo, right?
Correct.
What's your thoughts on Link's Awakening?
I like it. I quite honestly, when I got my Game Boy Advance when I was in Korea, Bobby, I actually got an Afterburner installed in my Game Boy Advance. Remember what an Afterburner was?
No, I don't.
That was the light you could install internally if you found a guy who would do it, because the GBA had no backlight.
Yes.
So I sent my GBA away to a guy, hoping that this guy was not going to be a crook, and it worked out.
That's
$65
awesome.
to get it installed was beautiful, because I could actually see what I was doing. I didn't have to have like the worm light and all that crap. It was horrible.
Yeah, I know.
And then I really started getting into GBA, like all the Castlevania games and such. But I played, and in Korea, they have a horrible, like, piracy. A lot of it comes from Japan, where you could buy, like, those, China, and it comes in, like, a 40-in-1 Game Boy cards.
Yeah.
And so one of those games was Link's Awakening. So I gave it a try, and I liked it, but I got stuck. This is like in 2001. I was moving into my new house with my wife. I didn't have the internet available because my computer wasn't available, and obviously there's no internet and phones. So I got stuck, and I just stopped, because in a lot of those old Zelda games, if you just did not know what that next thing to do was, you were stuck.
Yeah, man.
So this is actually my second time playing it. I didn't get very far, and I'm playing it now. I probably played about 3 hours, and I'm enjoying it a lot. I love the fact that you can jump in this game. It's fantastic.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's very cool. And I like the fact that it's bringing in a lot of different mechanics. It's just a lot of fun. The overlay, from what I understand, in the past, the old Zelda games were kind of one screen at a time, where this is a continuous game.
Yeah, well, see, Link's Awakening on the Game Boy was the frame-by-frame, tile-by-tile game. This has opened it up a little bit, where it will shift occasionally, but you might go 2 or 3 tiles in before it actually shifts a little bit. But it's really well done. It's really well done.
It is. It's neat to see those Mario elements, which I just think are very weird and bizarre at the same time. But it kind of shows you previously how many weird things Nintendo would do, especially with like the Game Boy games. They would just try crazy things. Like you said, Mario had the fireball or whatever that bounced off things, and he would drive didn't he have like a plane in Mario Land 2 or something?
Yeah.
And this is just like Zelda, trying some weird things and doing some bizarre things as well. And it's now, like you said, the features that have made it very much more convenient with having multiple you can hotkey your different powers and things like that. That makes it really convenient. You can put pins in things to see where you need to go next.
Yes.
You die, you come back to life right where you died, which is nice. It's convenient. Yeah. It's not, you don't have to go to that save point that's 85 miles away. So I really like it. It's fun. It's cute. It's adorable. Love the art style. And I really like the fact that they're going that route. And it just makes me hopeful that we will see more things reimagined in this type of mindset versus always having to be a sprawling, huge game like Breath of the Wild. And quite honestly, this is the perfect Zelda game for beginners. So kids versus Breath of the Wild, you toss them into this open world. This one's fun. Yeah. It's cute. It's neat.
Do you know the story of this game at all? Like the backstory of this game?
No.
So there was a couple of guys that worked on this game that also worked on Link's Awakening or Link to the Past. And there's a couple of mechanics in this game. One in particular is like where you could actually use the bomb and the arrow and combine them together and shoot. They added that to Link to the Past. And Miyamoto pulled it out and was like, no, he liked it, but he was just like, no, it doesn't feel like a Zelda game. Take it out, pull it out. So he started to eliminate some of the stuff that they were adding to it. So when he gets done making A Link to the Past, Miyamoto goes on to a new game, and they bring these guys in and go, we need you to make a Zelda game for the Game Boy. So they go, well, listen, let's just grab all of our ideas that Miyamoto kicked away. Let's add them to this and see what we'll get away with. And he was so busy on other stuff, it all went in. And that's how it got through. So it's kind of cool that, like, Miyamoto's trying to shoot stuff down, and they're like, let's just try it again. Let's see if we can sneak one by the old guy. And they did.
That's a life lesson. Better to ask forgiveness than permission. So Sean Capri, take that. Joseph Moran, take that. Toby Thornton, take that.
Exactly.
And just put him past the old guy.
No, don't do that.
See how it goes.
Don't listen to this guy. So that is all. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Nintendo Talk. Number 105 is in the books now. Todd, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate this. You bailed Toby out. You saved the Brit. Real quickly, though, before we go, again, plug your stuff. Let them know where they can find you at and all that good stuff.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me on, Bobby. This is a pleasure. When I come and I am actually on a podcast with you, I try to be a gentleman, so I try not to rag on Nintendo too much.
You do.
So I try. So if you like video games, I actually do a podcast called Co-op Mode. That's part of the Secret Friends Network with Mark Carabin. Great guy. He's Canadian. Forgive him for that. And basically follow us on Twitter at SecretFriendsU. If you like superheroes, comic books, fantasy, fiction, and things like that, you can listen to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, also at Secret Friends U on Twitter. We also have a Facebook group if you like to complain about stuff, like most of our friends do. Our community is great. We have a lot of fun.
Mark Harabin. He also goes by the name Robin, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. The boy wonder.
Yes, definitely the boy wonder there. Make sure you can follow me over on the Twitters and the Instagrams at Nintendo Gurus. Toby's not here today, but check him out over on Twitter at Toby's_take. That is all. Peace out, Preston.
Play some video games. Okay.
All right. Just to be a favor, I'm going to talk. You talk too. I just want to kind of see what the levels are coming in at. So you can just talk now and see where we're at, and
Sounds good.
So it looks like.
Okay.
Don't one word ain't gonna get like talk, Todd.
Okay.
Oh
Bobby,
my God.
what can I
Okay.
say?
All right.
It's always a pleasure to be around.
Okay,
the
I gotta
guru.
turn you up a little
He is
bit.
My,
Okay.
he is my
Okay.
fantastic man that I love so much.
Okay. Now you can relax there. That's
Okay.
You get a bit out of control. You make me a little nervous. I mean, I guess I could put my lights on purple to match your shirt there if you want me to.
Woo-hoo. Yeah. Little Wario yellow and purple.
Oh my. Been playing Fortnite all damn day.
Damn, dude.
I
Getting
can't.
beat up by teenagers?
No, I've actually. Well, I've been playing Rumble because I'm trying to unlock it. You got like, it's double XP this weekend, so I'm like just going hog wild. I'm almost at level 100, and then I'm like doing all this crazy stuff, trying to get all this nonsense and.
Did you pick up all the Batman stuff?
Yeah. And that's purple. That's really not purple. That's like a blue.
No, it's like blue.
Yeah, we're not going to go with that. We'll just go with in the camera it makes it look blue, but it's really.
You look like you're in a
purple.
Drake video.
In a what?
A Drake video.
All right, we'll go with this one.
There we go.
Okay, it's my Breath of the Wild theme. Lights.
Nice.
I try to theme my lights to whatever games I'm playing. I'm that level nerd. Yeah.
You're playing Breath of the Wild?
No. When I stream, I was streaming for a little bit, and I have.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? Is that what this one is? This is actually no. This is my Splatoon colors right now.
Okay.
So okay, let me pull the show notes up, and we'll be ready to go. We're recording now. Hold on. Let me stop recording. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna buy a second camera because I hate the fact that like when I show the people, like the camera you're looking, it's just like real crappy, and I'm like, well, compared to the other camera's like really nice, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any other type of headset other than those? Like, can we?
Oh, Bobby, Bobby, come on! I thought this was the Nintendo PlayStation.
That's long gone, man. That is long gone. Oh, you bastard. Okay.
Represent.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, here we go. What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 1. Why did I do that? That was stupid. That's not my intro. Hold on. I forgot I changed the intro for this one. Okay, here we go. Hold on. Okay. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode 105 of Nintendo Talk. I am Bobby the